It's time for Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, sponsored by Fast Break Sports and The Pitch. Here's your host, Scott Puryear.
Welcome into another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. I am Scott Puryear. As always, thank everybody for giving us a listen this week as we talk sports with local newsmakers and hot topics. And, of course, today we are taping live from one of our great sponsors, The Pitch Pizza and Pub. We're going to talk to Brian Bevel, the owner of The Pitch, here in a little bit about the restaurant, a great place for pizza, subs, appetizers, cold beverages, watch sports. You can do it all here at the Pitch Pizza and Pub. But our guest today is the newly named president of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, and which also includes the Price Cutter Charity Championship, Rob Marsh. Rob, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Scott. Always good to visit with you. I appreciate the invite.
You bet. And you and I go way back, back to the 90s and maybe even before, I don't know, but we're both old. That's what that says.
We are.
But, you are in a new role. You started officially earlier this month as the president of the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame. You've been with Price Cutter / Pyramid Foods for 27 years before that. What prompted the job switch at this point in your lifetime and career?
Back in October, when we got wind that there was some issues with the charity funding and everything going on with the Price Cutter Charity Championship, obviously on the Price Cutter side, we were very concerned. As we've been a sponsor of that tournament for almost 30 years and a big driver and supporter of the charities and everything that tournament does. As you're well aware, it is the vehicle for $20+ million for local children's charities. So once we got word of that there was financial issues, I dove in on the Price Cutter side and offered support and wanted to work hand in hand on what happened and what we can do to ensure that we fulfill that obligation. And, kind of fast forward and working through that and working through the governing board of the Hall of Fame, I thought it was an opportunity that somebody had to step up and make sure that things were handled right and, again, that the obligation was fulfilled. And I thought I was the right person to do that.
And you've been on the board out there how long?
Good question. I would say every bit of 15 years,
15
probably.
years, yeah. So and the problems that got out there into the media, and you guys put them out there to your credit. Did they hit some of you by surprise? Because you mentioned that you found out what was going on. Kind of describe that scene.
It was a surprise because if you went out to the tournament back in this past tournament back in July, it was the tournament looked really well. There was a lot of upgrades made and the different offerings and the sky boxes and the tents. And so, they really put on a really good looking tournament. And so was kind of under the understanding that everything was going okay. So, yeah, it caught us off guard a little bit come October as it did the rest of the public, as you're well aware. So,
well, and without getting into the weeds, is it pretty much summarized in spent a little too much and didn't raise enough, basically?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, everything comes at a cost, as you know, and
everything's more expensive now, too.
And everything in today's world is more expensive.
Those darn groceries, for example.
Like the price of eggs and all that. We can get into that conversation, but yeah, like I said, a lot of upgrades were made, and that comes at a cost. And for some reason or another, I'm not sure, there was some various revenue was down. Sponsors, a few I think dropped out, and at the end of the day, it doesn't appear that the money was there to fund everything. So, again, I thought somebody had to step in and take quick action, and somebody that was very familiar with the Hall of Fame and the tournament, and that kind of fit my resume.
Absolutely. And where are you now in late January in terms of kind of getting back to the charities and getting the money in their hands?
Well, one of the first things we got a hold of was got our accounting cleaned up to be able to see exactly where we're at, where our obligations were on the revenue side, on the payable side. And so I walked in with a group of really, really strong individuals that want to see this thing survive as well. And we hit the ground running. We've made a tremendous strides in our accounting and again, knowing where I'm at every single day now. And so I started reaching out to people on our payables list and wanted to meet with them. And so we were both clear on what we owed who and the obligations that we had. And then I immediately also started reaching out to the charities. And I was able to raise half of the charity, the monies that we owed to the charities. I was able to raise about 50% or close to it. And I work on it every single day, and I'm planning on here in the very near future making another distribution on some money that I've been able to raise through the community. And so Scott, in I don't know, maybe it's 20 some days now, who's counting, but we have made a lot of strides and put some operational things in place, and the team has done an excellent job. Like I said, I'm blessed with a lot of great people over there that want to see this thing through, and I definitely see the light at the end of the tunnel now.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you that the irony of this whole situation is that Rob Marsh was inducted into the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame in 2021 with the President's Award. Little did they know that meant he would become the president for. Did they tell you that when you got to go up there in 21?
No, I don't remember Gerald having that conversation or.
By the way, you'll be the president in 25, Rob, get ready, that type of thing.
Yes, yes.
Well, and a lot of people knowing you, and you've done such a good job with helping charities from your role with Pyramid and Price Cutter and the other grocery chain stores there. People would ask why. Why would you do this? I know the answer because you're about those charities and the money that event has raised, and you always have been. Was that the ultimate driving thing, was we have to make this right? It
was 100% of what really made this decision. And I can tell you that, a lot of people ask you in the business world of what keeps you up at night. And that is literally what keeps me up still tonight, or, not tonight, will tonight, but last night and every night, that I've got to raise the rest of the money to make sure that they're taken care of, because these organizations and these children count on these resources that this tournament's provided. And I knew I was, taking a risk personally, my family, taking a risk, and what I thought would be an extremely hard sell to my wife. After we had the conversation, she said, "You're the absolute right person for this job, and they count on you, and I believe in you, and I know you can do it." And so, I just had another conversation with the governing board, and I haven't looked back. Like I said, I am going to fulfill that obligation. It means a lot to me, and I've had so many great conversations as a group and one-on-ones with the charities, and they believe in me, and which meant a lot. And the meetings that I've had with many of the corporate sponsors and the community leaders, they've backed me and continue to back me, and they want to see this thing turned around. So I've been blessed with having a lot of the 27-year relationships that I've had with Price Cutter, has helped me get in the door with a lot of these people, and allowed me to show them what my plan is and what I have planned moving forward.
An interesting dynamic to this from your standpoint, and I knew this from being on the board of Champions Committed to Kids for years with Todd Edwards and all the great people with that organization. You spent so many years on the other side of the desk. I mean, we came to you for burgers and dogs and buns, and you never said no. I would always go, and one time we did get about 300 more buns than we actually needed, but we made it through on that one. But you've been on that side of it where people come to you for things. Now you're on the other side of the desk going and going to be asking people. Is that the thing that maybe in the first month of this you've learned the most about so far? Is it's a different world, making the ask instead of being asked? That's
a great question, and it's one that I knew walking into this job. Because, Scott, I'm not a salesman. I'm a business guy that understands profit and loss and budgets and forecasts. And so I knew that was going to be a different role for me. But I also thought that the strengths that I do have is what the Hall of Fame needed at this point. Mm-hmm. But it's I've had great meetings, and I'll tell you what, some of the corporate sponsors that I've met with said it was actually a breath of fresh air because I spoke from the heart. I was very passionate of where I'm headed and very transparent, and that's all that I have going for me right now. Like I said, I'm not the typical guy, and I've took some rough meetings, as you can imagine, of sponsors being disappointed and upset, and I realized that walking into it, and that's okay, because I told them a month ago I was sitting on the other side of that desk, and I understood how they felt, but once I laid out my plan and they got to talking and got to know me a little bit better. For the ones that didn't, they believed in me, and they're continuing to back the Hall of Fame.
Well, and I think it's a great hire from the standpoint that, just as you said, that new hire, people needed stability. They needed somebody they felt like they could trust coming in, and your work with that organization as a board member, as a primary sponsor of the golf tournament every year, you know the ins and outs. You knew the situation, that you weren't going to cut any corners, and they needed that trust. So I think it's a great move in that regard. And, the sales stuff, if you can talk, you can learn it. Gerald will probably tell you that.
Yes.
That when Gerald started, back in the mid-'90s, he probably wasn't much of a salesman, and then he became a guy that nobody could say no to. He'd make you feel bad if you said no.
Yes.
You probably saw that several times, didn't you?
Absolutely. I had a hard time telling him no.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, big week for the Hall of Fame this week. This is your annual enshrinement dinner in Springfield, coming up on Sunday. Out at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds again. What year is this? This has got to be about the 25th, 27th, 30th, maybe. It seems
over 30.
They're over 30 years. Yeah. Johnny Damon, one of the headliners. Nyla Millison, Corey Riggs, our friend going in. Brock Olivo,
Matt Adams
from the Cardinal days. What's it feel like for you now going into this event Sunday, knowing that you're up front, you're not just sitting there and enjoying this time? Is there any kind of nerves about the actual pulling off the enshrinement dinner?
I actually thought there would be, but the team again has worked their tail off on this enshrinement, and we're approaching over close to 1,200 people as of this morning, and we just continue to grow it every single day, and that is our largest enshrinement of the year. So we're looking at it as an organization, and we're again starting 2025 out on a very strong note, and we've been able to negotiate some of the expenses down, so the cost of putting the event, we've lowered that. So, but I thought I would be nervous, but it's been really kind of neat as I've read all the bios of everybody, and everybody has a story, as you know, better than I do, and I'm looking forward to meeting and talking to these individuals, and this will be my first obviously big event on that side of the podium, but it's been fun writing the speeches and writing to talk about all these individuals and programs, and believe it or not, I'm not nervous at all. I'm much looking forward to it. And then it's very encouraging for us to grow that big to 1,200 people that the community is behind us, like I said, and want to see this thing through.
Now, thankfully, Gerald became the time dictator on the length of speeches, and
3 minutes.
And came up with the house music playing item. Are you going to be sticking to that as well?
We are.
Because you guys induct so many people.
We do.
That some of the early ones that didn't have that, it was a marathon.
Right.
And I think that's something that you want the people out there honoring their friends and family and all that by attending to have a good experience as well, right?
Yeah, it's it's a fine line of you want to stay on time, you want to stay on schedule. People are committing their Sunday afternoon to come to this, but then you also realize that the person up there that's being inducted, this is a big deal for them, a lifetime achievement of a lot of being away from their families or whatever sports it may be. So it is that fine line of giving them that spotlight and letting them want to talk about, and maybe some of them do get to rambling on about stories, but I want them to enjoy it. The day is about them, and they deserve every bit of the accolades they're getting.
I'll never forget, I spent 11 years with Coach Hesser, who's a unique individual, and at his speech, they started the house music, and he kind of looks off stage with the Hesser glare. And I'm like, oh, I've seen that look before. But you know what? He wrapped it up, and just like everybody else, they understand, hey, I'm on a time limit here, and I may not be able to thank the third wave of my people on my list, but got to get it done. So, and of course, the other big event is the Price Cutter Charity Championship. I've been to almost every one of those since 1990, the inception. You would have been a high school junior.
That's correct.
That year. Did you go out there as a high school junior?
I did.
You did?
I
did,
yes.
Payne Stewart was there.
I think it was the Nike tour, if I remember right.
Or Ben Hogan. No, it was Ben Hogan.
Ben Hogan,
then
Nike.
Then Nike.
Yeah, that's right.
And that needs to be a contest for this year. Is if you can name all 8 of them.
That's a good one.
The Corn Ferry now. But Price Cutter Charity Championship, July 17th to the 20th this summer, again at Highland Springs Country Club. Will you have any different approach to that? And I should clarify that Gerald is there a phone call away from you on everything now.
Correct.
As kind of a mentor and to help you learn the ropes this first year. But, Rob Marsh is going to put his own spin on things eventually. And talk about the Price Cutter Charity Championship, if there's going to be anything different in your plan this summer and going forward, and maybe some of the other events as we get into them.
Well, I think it's important, too, to I've had several, obviously, conversations with the PGA during everything that was going on in October, November, and December, and then a lot more cadence since I've took the role on. We actually have a weekly standing Zoom call I do with the PGA, and I made sure to to tell them that. The slate's clean, in my opinion. They run tournaments all over the country and the world, and let's look at the best practices of all the pro-ams that go around the nation and all these tournaments, and you can imagine the resources that the PGA has. And so we're in the early stages right now of what the 2025 tournament's going to look like. But like I said, I told them I was an open book. This will be my first year, and you guys are the experts. So let's work together. And so, like I said, since then we've had weekly calls that we're talking about it, and. Then the PGA and Price Cutter and Highland Dairy signed a 5-year extension, so we know the tournament's going to be here for another 5 years. And Mark Stallman and I have had a great meeting of talking about the Highland Springs piece of it, and then of course the outstanding job that they do and the condition the course is always in, and so I think that was important too, that the stability that Price Cutter showed that wanted to continue this on, and Highland Dairy and everything that Ozarks Coca-Cola has done throughout the years. So, but how it's going to look, that's we'll have to get back together in a month or two and talk again. But and
I was going to say, because I think one thing people ask is, will some of the bells and whistles that maybe got you into the jam maybe be backpedaling a little bit for this year and get back to what the tournament was like?
Yeah. Scott, to be transparent, absolutely, and I have said that to the PGA that I'll do everything I can possibly afford to do.
Yeah,
and they completely understood that. That is probably going to look a little bit different, but I like to use the term value engineering, that we can still give the look and then not pay the price.
Gerald had a Pro-Am everywhere, but I believe Bodark and maybe Luke over the years, and only because they didn't have a golf course in your location.
Correct.
But,
yes.
And we used to poke fun at it, and good-natured ribbing because every Pro-Am was raising money for the charities.
Correct.
Do you see yourself going forward reducing any of the events that the hall does, or obviously fine-tuning from a financial standpoint? But a lot of people don't know, and I learned this last year when I sat down with Byron, the number of events you're doing kind of like this Sunday, but in Kansas City and in mid-Missouri and in St. Louis. What is your plan going forward? Because all those things do contribute to the bottom line. You just have to figure out how to make them more profitable if you do have them.
No, that's exactly right. And right now on the initial calendar, we've actually added 7 events back to the Hall of Fame schedule that when I've wrote our budgets and projections on both the Hall of Fame side and the charity prize cutter charity championship side, we added the 7 events back and projected what I thought's a realistic revenue and expense side, and we're moving forward with them.
Awesome. And regarding the event this weekend, tickets, can people walk up and get them Sunday, or do you recommend they call the hall?
I recommend they absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up, Scott. Sure. Call the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame at 417-889-3100, and any of us that answer the phone can take care of you. And like I said, it continues to grow every single day, and approaching 1,200 people. That's a pretty good party.
Now, is it in the arena or is it in the
E-Plex?
Okay,
yes.
Next door, absolutely. I know Rob Marsh. A lot of people know Rob Marsh, but tell us about Rob Marsh, your family, because as you mentioned, this was a family decision.
It was.
You left the comfort of grocery world for a whole new world with some issues here. I know you're a 1991 Kickapoo grad. You graduated in the same class as my wife, so if you have any dirt on her, I'd be happy for you to share that. But tell us about Rob Marsh and the family.
Yeah, I grew up here in Springfield, went to 2 elementaries, 2 junior highs, and 2 high schools, and so kept making friends
and going back.
I
right?
was. My high school career was the first 2 at Parkview, which if you remember, Benny Lawson he was the football coach, so kind of a blast from the past on that. He was a longtime Parkview, as you know,
guy.
and Horner Askins is an absolute incredible individual, and he was my next door neighbor for a long period of time. So I was kind of really, Horner and I have always stayed in touch, and his wife Judy, and then my first event, he's being inducted, so I thought that was pretty neat.
I think, and not to cut you off, but I think it would only be fitting if Horner fired a starter pistol to get the festivities going indoor. Now, that may limit your crowd a little bit right after that with the ambulance carrying some people out, but wouldn't that be fitting?
Well, that, or it might, Jeffrey Brumit's bringing his horse with him, so I don't know. We might have
we would have a freak out
I don't know
situation.
if I want like the running of the bulls going across the enshrinement. But,
absolutely. Your wife's a Nixa grad,
yeah,
right?
My wife's a Nixa grad, been married 24 years. Her and I have actually been together close to 30. I have a son that just turned 21 last week. He is a junior at Drury University, studying architecture and leaves for Paris to study abroad in about 3 weeks.
Awesome.
So great experience for him. And my daughter is a senior at Nixa, plays on the basketball team. And that is my family. And like I said, of course, the kids thought it was pretty neat to be with the Hall of Fame now. It was a little bit more exciting than the bananas and the eggs. But my kids both work for Price Cutter and have for quite some time. So they thought it was pretty neat. But again, on my wife's side, who's normally the very conservative, low risk, she looked right at me and said, "You're the absolute right person, and I believe in you."
That's great.
Which that gave me the encouragement to push me over the end zone, as you're well aware.
Yeah, absolutely. Your son being an architecture major, can he come back and fix the Hall of Fame building?
Well, I'm hoping so.
What's the situation there with the building itself?
Well, from what I've understood and everything that I've read, the building had a substantial roof leak problem that ended up getting a new roof on it. And with anything that you get moisture in your building and you don't have the right ventilation, it causes issues. And so the roof's gotten fixed, and the amount of money that the Hall of Fame needs to repair to get back open, frankly and transparent, Scott, we don't have it right now. Mm-hmm. And so I've put that on the back burner. Again, to me, the charity thing is a lot more important to myself and getting everything back on track. But it's on my to-do list, and I want to get that back open so people and children can come see, all the neat exhibits that the Hall of Fame offers. But right now, I'm focused on the charities.
Very good. Rob, we appreciate your time. Thanks for your transparency on this. That's the way you've always been. I don't know why it would be any different now. I do miss that I can call you for burgers and dogs and buns, but you can probably still figure out a way.
You still can. I've got some really good connections with Price Cutter. Right. We'll always take care of you.
All right, Rob, thanks again.
Thank you, Scott.
Here at Around the Ozarks Sports Scene, we love our sponsors. We love to go on location and talk about them and show them how much we appreciate them. And today we've taped this week's segment at the Pitch Pizza and Pub in the Southern Hills Shopping Center off East Sunshine, and my pleasure to have owner Brian Bevel with me today. Brian, how are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me.
You bet. We go way back to the days of my sports writing career, I think. You've been around. How long you been in the area?
Oh, I've been here basically my whole life.
Whole life, that's right. And I know I did some stories maybe back on the rugby thing. I was trying to figure out what the heck this sport was and why these guys are tougher than football players, which they are, right, Brian?
They are.
No question, yeah.
Not at all.
But we'll talk a lot about Brian and the rugby, but also want to talk about the Pitts Pizza and Pub. I almost said plub. One of my favorite places to eat is just down the street from my office here, and whether it's pizzas, calzones, sandwiches, appetizers, cold beverages, you've got it all here. And you've been here 7 years, right?
Correct. We're getting ready to celebrate our 8th anniversary in April.
What prompted you to open the Pitch out here and kind of scratch that itch for you, I would imagine?
Well, I just saw the need in this neck of the woods for something semi-casual. I'm the furthest thing from corporate that you'll find, and I wanted it to be very approachable for, business lunches and family outings, and I think we have cornered the market in that.
What's your most popular items in here?
Appetizers, our wings and Brussels sprouts seem to be the number 1 and 2 for whatever reason on the Brussels sprouts, because I'm not a Brussels sprouts guy, but I make them really good and other people like them. And then we sell a ton of pizza, here or to carry out.
What's the most popular pizza? Specialty pizza.
The Pitch.
The Pitch?
Yep.
Appropriately, right?
Correct.
Did you load that one up so it'd be the best one?
It's just what I came up with.
And those Brussels sprouts, I had actually never tried one in my life. And my friend Emily Givens, she and I came here for lunch one day. I tried them. You can get hooked on those real quick, too.
Yeah, my wife about 10 years ago asked me to make Brussels sprouts taste good, and that's what I came up with.
What's the secret, or can you share that?
I think it's the sea salt and the way that works with the garlic that we toss them in.
So you've got meeting space here for groups. You were talking a second ago off air about the Buffalo Bills Mafia. Mm-hmm. This is their home, and they probably had a little rough night Sunday, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, did they handle it well? I mean, there was no table breaking or anything?
No, they were very good.
Yeah. What are the typical meetings, and how many can you hold over here in the room?
We have meetings up to 80, we can seat 80 comfortably back there. And then we do a lot of community stuff, a lot of PTA groups meet back there. I've got a dog club that meets back there, a lot of anniversaries, tons of graduation parties. We're already booking for May for graduation parties. For whatever reason, we do a lot of bridal showers back there.
And I like the fact you've got a separate bar area if people want to hang out in the bar, and a restaurant area too. Is this popular we talk about the Pitts Pizza and Pub, what to watch this weekend. Do you get a lot of sports fans coming in and watching football and the such?
We do, and we have the NFL tickets, so that helped, be able to show people the game they wanted. When I designed the restaurant, I designed it without any neon on the restaurant side, so you can bring grandma on Sunday and she doesn't feel like she's sitting in a bar, but you can still keep an eye on the game. And then the other side's a little more, we have 100 bottles of good whiskey over there and about 90 different types of beer you can get.
What are your hours and days you're open?
7 days a week, 11 to 10, except on Sunday we close at 9.
Okay, great, awesome. And of course, you and I go back, as I mentioned, you wear two hats. You are also the rugby coach at Drury University on the men's side. Helped start the women's program over there. Getting ready to fire up the spring rugby season, aren't you?
Absolutely. Today is actually our first day of spring season. We play sevens in the spring, which is what you see in the Olympics, and we'll travel all around the Midwest playing rugby until April and hopefully get our ticket punched for nationals.
And you've been doing the rugby thing locally for 25, 30 years, maybe?
Since 1994.
1994.
Yeah, I've been part of the Springfield Rugby Club since then, and they're actually hosting a tournament this weekend at the sand volleyball facility in Ozarks. We're going to play rugby on the sand, and I'm going to take my Drury boys down there for that.
Give me a kind of a state of the sport address for Southwest Missouri with rugby. Is it growing? Is it stabilized? How would you describe it in 2025?
Growing, certainly. We're actually hosting the national tournament out at Bobby Allison in May, and we'll have 3 different divisions of men's and women's rugby from all over America. Will be here in Springfield. So I think the economic impact would be great, and the stage for people to come see a good brand of rugby.
Where do you find Drury rugby players? Because, I mean, do you take football kids in some cases locally that want to try it, or how do you look for a Drury rugby player?
Absolutely. We go out, and I've got kids that played soccer from Cassville. I've got kids that played football at Catholic, Hillcrest, Bolivar. Most American men don't touch a rugby ball until they're 18 years old anyways. So I don't mind taking someone who's got the want and the desire to play rugby and turn them into a player. I've got rugby players who have been playing since they were 4 years old. I got a kid coming from South Africa. I got a kid here from Arizona, one from Michigan, one from Texas. We just got them all over, and that helps round out your side, because in rugby you need guys that weigh 135 pounds, you need guys that weigh 270 pounds. So there's a place for everyone.
How much does it bother you when you watch the NFL guys doing the tush push now, and you're like, hey, wait a minute, that's our game. We've been doing that for decades, right?
I take solace in the fact that American football and American basketball come directly from rugby.
Okay.
So the old joke was that Naismith invented basketball to keep his rugby team fit. So the jump ball, the line of scrimmage, a bunch of the names for football come straight out of the rugby vernacular.
Okay. And what do you tell those kids that come from other sports and have never played rugby what to expect when they come to Drury? I mean, it's a different world of contact, I would guess, too, right?
It's a safer world of contact. I mean, we have less concussions on the rugby team than the soccer team does. We just you don't stick your head where it doesn't belong, and that you teach that early. I mean, I've gone out to some high schools in the region and helped the coaches with heads up tackling and different things so you don't get hurt. My biggest hurdle with getting a kid to come play rugby at Drury is their mom. That's the number one hurdle I face is making sure mom understands they'll be safe, and not joking about rubbing some dirt on it and making it go away. Or the kids always make fun of me if I make them hold out their injury, and well, that's a long ways from your heart. It probably won't kill you, kind of thing. So you have to assure mom that that's not going to be the way you treat little Johnny.
Who do you play? Where do you have to go to get matches in college rugby?
We play all over, but we'll play Arkansas, Mizzou. We played KU last year. We played Kentucky. We'll play Pitt State, S&T. We went 7-1 in the Gateway Conference and beat WashU, SLU, McKendree, Maryville, and they kicked us out of that union. And so we're now Division I. We're a D1 program here, and we play in the NCR Conference, which is National Collegiate Rugby. And so we'll play all around the Midwest.
Is there any good rivalries developing? Anybody in particular that you guys play that your guys get fired up?
We started at the Jimmy Stewart Cup, and we play the Springfield team.
Okay.
And so we played the men's team. We're making that a tradition every November. Jimmy Stewart sent 2 kids through Drury and was a big mentor of mine. And so he passed away earlier this year. And so we've started that tradition of the men's and women's sides at Drury playing the men's and women's sides of Springfield. So that can get a little testy because that's like their big brothers.
Sure. What about on the college level? On
the college level, Arkansas is probably our biggest because they're close and we play a lot. Uh-huh. We usually play them in the fall and the spring, and we went down there last year and went 6-0, and they weren't real happy about that.
Well, Super Bowl coming up a week from Sunday. I'm sure the pitch will be open, and you got any kind of specials planned then? Or
We'll have a lot of wings smoked. We sell a lot of wings for events like that, and we'll be here for your needs if you are
carry out. Correct.
Lots of carry out. Yeah, we cater a lot of partings. We have a catering van and all of that. We do. We don't promote it like as much as we should, but we do quite a bit of off-site catering.
Awesome. Brian, we appreciate your sponsorship and continued support of this podcast, and thanks for joining me today.
My pleasure.
That's going to do it for another edition of Around the Ozarks Sports Scene. As always, thank everyone for listening. Big thank you to our sponsors, Fast Break Sports and the Pitch Pizza and Pub, where we've taped this week's location. Of course, Fast Break over off South Campbell is your home for all things sports memorabilia, baseball cards, and collectibles. If you got that new Paul Skeens, well, you don't have that one-of-one card because a kid got it out of California, I believe, and turned down season tickets from the Pirates for the next 30 years to auction off the card. But that's the fun of collecting, and the guys at Fast Break Sports can get you headed down the right path with that. And, of course, we talked about the pitch here in the Southern Hills Shopping Center. Great pizza, appetizers, beverages. They will have the Super Bowl on. Get your order in early for smoked wings from the pitch. Their wings are top shelf. And we bring you the pitch what to watch this weekend as we do each week. Things to keep an eye on the sports world, to get out and about and watch, or watch on TV. And even most of them, you can watch them right here at the pitch. But this is the weekend of the 98th Nixa Invitational High School Boys Basketball Tournament. 98 years of that tournament. It's Thursday through Saturday at Nixa High School, of course, and looking at maybe a Rogersville and Nixa championship matchup Saturday afternoon. I believe it's a 3:30 tip on that. So you want to watch some good basketball, head down to Nixa and watch that 8-team field in the tournament this weekend. Missouri State Lady Bears are on a roll. They picked up 2 big home wins last week. They're 15-4 overall, 7-1 in the Valley, playing very well. They're on the road this weekend at Bradley on Friday and at Illinois State on Sunday afternoon. You can find both those on ESPN Plus, the streaming channel there. Lady Bears have won 7 in a row. Been a little struggle for the Bears. They'll try to get on track. They are home again this Saturday. Murray State comes in for a 2 o'clock tip at Great Southern Bank Arena. Enjoy your football weekend off, Chiefs fans. This is kind of your catch your breath because they have the weekend off. It's the 2-week prep for the Super Bowl. It'll be the Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl in New Orleans a week from this coming Sunday. A rematch of their hookup 2 years ago, won by the Chiefs, as Kansas City seeks to become the first NFL team ever to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. That's going to do it. We'll see you next week on Around the Ozarks Sports Scene.